Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Upper right hand corner, we got Fischei starting as the blue Protoss. Bottom left hand corner at the cross position, we have Bayaster starting as the purple Protoss. This is going to be on Deja Vu in game 2 between the best of 3 in round 1 of the Swiss bracket of BSL Hasuleague. I feel like the things I need to say at the beginning of these keep getting more and more complicated. Deja Vu, kind of an interesting map. I like it because there is, I think I've already covered it. You got the minerals in the middle, but otherwise it's 3 bases effectively, eggs covering a pretty wide base actually, where the wider ramp becomes a narrow ramp, or I should say the narrow ramp becomes a wide ramp after the initial 2 eggs are taken out. Pretty wide natural expansion, and you have this third, but what's interesting about the third is it tends to be away from your opponent, and it also tends to be away from it's easier to defend because you can see where moving troops, and then the interesting aspect is when it can come to 3 base aggression is just these ramps and these ramps being like hit and run. But more often what I've seen happen in many of these matches is players kind of relegating themselves. I don't know how much we'll see that with PvP or PvT or ZVZ, but players relegating themselves to just the initial 3 bases and playing out the match from there. We will have to see whether that's the case here or not. Game 1, Fischei playing very, very aggressively, and he made a few mistakes here and there, but overall, really, that aggression really paid off for him. Looks like we are seeing a earlier simulator here out of Bayaster. Going to go ahead and go gateway into a simulator. We're going to see a 2-gate, it looks like, from Fischei. Very likely going to work out to Bayaster's favor. We'll have to see there. What now? I don't want to call it too early because I definitely had seen the botched 2-gate defense from against New Ocean, so New Ocean executing the 2-gate earlier in the series. If you guys haven't seen that one, check it out. But I think Bayaster, and that was against Tossum, but I think Bayaster is going to be able to defend this pretty decently. We'll have to see if he gets the initial defensive zealot or how much he delays. What I will say is like just trying to go Dragoon and nothing on the front against 2-gate at a distance, maybe not the best. Checking mid map position, not finding anything. The other question is how rapidly does he scout it, and also how rapidly does Fischei scout him? Fischei making his way to the bottom left. Is he going to see the probe scout making its way across? This could be confusing. Is he going to continue? So he sees it. He's going to continue to the bottom left, but he's got the zealots queued up, and it looks like he is going to go ahead and just go 3 zealot into gas, and so this should work out very heavily in Bayaster's favor because we do have the defensive zealot. We have the Dragoon. Fischei is going to get the bad news that this is in fact at cross position, and you can see it. I think Bayaster seeing the zealots is going to feel pretty content knowing, okay, 3 zealots cross position, probably not too much trouble, might even be able to get, but we'll see the timing of this. It's like 22 seconds. Interesting, Fischei not holding steady, because oftentimes what I've seen players do is sometimes they'll fold back into just 2-gate robotics in response to this, and then oftentimes if you see that, or the response would maybe be like 2-gate or a 1-gate obs and maybe a shield battery or something else at the front. The Dragoon's marching out to go ahead and get that bonus damage from Fischei. What Fischei is hoping to get is he's hoping to land at least a handful of probe kills to make the early zealots worth it. Zealot smacking that probe as it's making way out. So we got 3 damage zealots. They gotta break their way through. The second Dragoon is out, so this is gonna be 2 Dragoons. 1 zealot able to get on top of 1 Dragoon. Looks like the zealots are going to be able to make their way through, able to get all 3 zealots alive somehow from Fischei. This Dragoon misfiring up on the high ground, so Fischei actually making his way in. So a bit of a botched defense. The probes not fully defending themselves. I think that was 1 probe kill right there. A bit of a probe drill. Second probe killed, and Fischei actually at the end of this is going to end up in workers overall. Lost the 3 zealots, is going to be behind in Dragoons, but at cross position, not going to hurt him all that much. In the meantime, Bayaster, so he's got, now it's kind of the same problem, opposite direction. Fischei up a worker. It's about even, regardless. Upper right-hand corner, he can go ahead and charge with those initial 3 Dragoons, but with the high ground misfire, it's not going to, it might delay the natural expansion a bit, but you're going to have 4 Dragoons versus 3, and then he'll have to be careful when he's, I don't think that's enough to hold the high ground, so he's going to have to be a little bit careful. Natural expansion going up from Bayaster. In response to all that, though, recognizing it, pretty nice. Are we going to see any tech shift from Fischei? Looks like not. just going to hold the ground, and by the time 3 Dragoons are in here in the natural expansion, we now have 5 Dragoons with high ground advantage again. And now the question is are they going to take a shot or two coming out? This is still an overall advantage from the low ground. It looks like we do have an additional Dragoon making its way out. Fischei going to hold high right this second. And Bayaster sneaking in the bottom right-hand corner with that probe. Is he going to go for some proxy tech? Doesn't really need to do proxy right here. There's not a lot of opportunity for Fischei to push the corner. I'm kind of curious why that probe's hanging out down there. But now we got 4 Dragoons versus 4 on the high ground. And we are going to see 2-gate robo here from Fischei. He's got 6 Dragoons out in the front versus 4. Bayaster needs to be a little bit careful once there's the move out. Fischei, it looks like Fischei waiting for range would be the big bit. That's the bit I'm missing. Still rusty. Miscalled the DT rush a few games ago. I'm still a little bit salty about that, interior to my own commentary. But anyway, 2 Zealots also getting tacked on. We're going to a 3-gate play with Forge behind it here from Bayaster. That's kind of interesting play. Making his way down. Bayaster, though, taking a lot of... So he didn't even get a free shot on any of these Dragoons, so he's going to end up losing a Dragoon for free. So now we got 6 Dragoons chasing this down, 2 Zealots in the back end, and does Bayaster have enough to defend now at expansion? Because this was a very delayed... if he can get the 3 gateways running, eventually he'll outsupply, but there's still an opportunity for Fischei right here, charging back into this if he micros it really well, to maybe get some probe kills. It's going to be 5 versus 5 as it's coming. So is going to, and Fischei should, yeah, definitely wants the scouting information. So moving up, some good focus fire initially, although that Dragoon not able to get out. So taking a little bit of base damage on, looks like just the 1 Dragoon. And going to go ahead and fold back, getting his natural expansion up. In the meantime, Bayaster in a pretty good situation. The probe that was pocketed bottom right-hand corner, now making its way up. I don't think it's in a good position here to... It's a little bit delayed. If that had made its way across a little bit earlier, might have been able to get some additional scouting information, but the Dragoons should be in a forward position. The question is does Fischei draw these Dragoons all the way back? Or does he give a nice little pocket for Bayaster to go ahead and move forward and get the information? This is actually really, really critical for Bayaster. As to know, okay, is this going to be a 3-gate, 4-gate? What's going to be the turnaround? So Dragoon wall does in fact get the pocket of the Nexus, ends up losing his probe for it, but well worth it as far as just flat information. So now we got the 3-gate robo going the opposite direction versus Fischei. The Reaver is just now constructing. There is an observer that's starting to make its way across the map. I think after seeing that probe peek in, that was a pretty big indicator to Fischei that it wasn't in fact going to be Dark Templar. He sees the Dragoons make their way across. There's enough to fight this, but there's a lot of Dragoons on the high ground here for Fischei. And these 3 at least need to be down on the low ground. Pylon taking a little bit of damage, and Fischei still holding strong, end up losing a lot of damage. So these 2 Dragoons going to hang out, but yeah, he definitely needed these 2 Dragoons on the low ground to help defend against this. So Bayaster doing some antics that Fischei was doing last match. Going to go up to 5 gateways, and I like what Bayaster is doing. He recognized he got the earlier expansion up. He recognized that he's got superior production, so just going in and trying to get what damage he can done. Doing what damage he can. The Reaver's now out for Fischei, so Fischei actually, surprisingly, a slight tech lead. +1 weapons building, and I think Bayaster's long-term plan here is, I wouldn't be surprised if he added on another gateway to go up to 6. But it looks like I think we're going to see +1 Zealot leg speed and a bunch of Zealots push in to kind of capitalize on that mid-game advantage. Now, the one problem with this, though, is with sufficient Reavers. I'm not sure if I like that. It is possible we're just going up to High Templar, so we'll check that once the Citadel... Okay, never mind. We are just going up to Templar. Never mind. Seeing the large amount of gateways, I'm misreading the situation. Just going to be 5 and setting up, getting the High Templar out to help negate that Reaver play, and then from there potentially going for a 3rd, as aforementioned at the earlier stages on Deja Vu. Pretty decent map to go ahead and get your 3rd, and then just play it out. Keep the try to keep a supply lead. Actually, the supply lead right now in Fischei's favor somehow between these 2 bases. I don't know how that happened. Fischei had that 1 worker up, but the second base was up a lot earlier for Bayaster, and Fischei just showing some strong macro. We do have the Zealot leg speed upgrading for Fischei. He's going to go for a gateway flood himself. Has a protective shuttle, but going to go ahead and play defensively out of this. High Templar being built for Bayaster, and he's already making his way down to go ahead and grab Is he going to grab that third right this second? I think he's going to set up to go ahead and grab that third. He's got the Dragoons at kind of a walled position right here. And essentially, if you're moving out on the map, that's the direction you have to go. Fischei, yeah, actually, as it evens out, he actually has a supply lead, which is a bit shocking considering the gateway count differential and the fact that that second Nexus was up much earlier. Taking some free shots. Bayaster initially moving into that, but going to go ahead and peel his way back. He doesn't have High Templar with this. He knows most certainly that Fischei has some Reavers alongside. Probe going to sneak in underneath to try to get a look at what the composition is at the rally point. Observer, by the way, seeing the High Templar otherwise. Fischei could get some really interesting damage done. It looks like Bayaster doing a great job of mirroring the army positions, by the way. But the one problem here for Bayaster is now protecting those High Templar, but still keeping them in the fight. Right now, the High Templar are not here. Zealot leg speed kicking in. Oh, he doesn't have Psystorm yet. Psystorm is missing, so he's got those High Templar, but right now they're not really... And he's even got a couple Psystorm banks, but Psystorm not upgraded, and now he needs to protect these High Templar, maybe distract Fischei's army before he needs that Psystorm to finish so he can turn and fight. Trying to branch off two directions. Zealot's going to the south, Fischei going to careen in on it. This might turn into a disaster for Fischei, though, because now he's getting encapsulated on two directions. This could be a massive storm right here. Huge storm on the Reavers. Looks like one High Templar has been picked off. No, there's no additional storm. Looks like the Reavers were able to dodge. So Fischei with the high ground advantage, engaging Bayaster on two fronts, able to push a lot of this off. A lot of that's because of that Zealot leg speed, able to send the Zealots as an attack squad initially to the south and then again to the north to push a lot of this back. The Dragoons, even though they have that +1 weapons, the Zealots just do so much damage when they can speedily hop on top of those Dragoons. Another grouping of Zealots marching their way across the field. This is actually what, when I was thinking about the early Citadel of Adun, this is kind of the play I was expecting for Bayaster. Instead, we're seeing it out of Fischei with a lot of gateways and now pressing forward. Fischei continuing with the aggression. Still some units pocketed and isolated to the north. No Psystorm here. I'm actually shocked Psystorm hasn't already been dropped on this field. Going to Psystorm for the high ground. Reaver barely survives. Finally is taken out with the turnaround, but he's only gotten one Reaver out of two storms, which is not going to be sufficient. The rest of the Zealots pressing in. Going to be able to clear this out, and Fischei's got the natural expansion of Bayaster completely breached. Where moments ago, Bayaster was thinking about going ahead and grabbing a third base. And the Reaver going to be able to probably clean up these forces to the rear. So now, Bayaster no longer mining out of his natural expansion. More Zealots streaming across the map. Should easily be able to clean up the natural... Maybe take the third. The shuttle's going to return back home to try to get some more reinforcements in the mix of this. Then the Zealots going to be able to get a lot of these units out. They could just focus down the Nexus. Absolute carnage right now. Fischei I can't tell which Zealots are which. There's some Zealots mixed into this. But I think Fischei's going to win this. He's got another round of Zealots making the way forward. And that should be that, honestly. Some emergency Dark Templar are being built. There's still an Observer here in the forward field, though. The Counter Observer not being targeted. Natural expansion's going to be gone, so that leaves kind of a 4-minute counter. Trying to pick off that Observer, not able to pick off that Observer. And the Counter Observer now picked off, which means Fischei is going to be able to maintain vision. So the Dark Templar are going to try to make their way down. They are formidable units in their own right, just attacking. You can see how they're obliterating the Zealots fairly quickly. But it's still not going to be enough to get back into this match, in my opinion. You got more Zealots streaming across. Is Fischei just going to go for it? Fischei, rather than retreating and consolidating, just going to continue to press into this. The Observer was out of that fight, so the Dark Templar are getting a lot of free damage. And Fischei, yeah, just going for the full breach, marching all the way in. More Zealots and a couple Dragoons now mixed in, going to stream across the map. And Fischei's happy to do these trades as long as Bayaster's not able to re-secure that natural expansion. The Observer going to check. Bayaster going for a counterattack. Massive supply lead. A good portion of it is in workers, however. And we have the Reavers out as well. And keep in mind, we don't have High Templar. It looks like we have some additional High Templar queued. And things are looking grim for Bayaster. He's maybe got 2, maybe 3 minutes before that natural expansion's gone. Fischei has the option to just sit back and macro. He's got a couple probes that look like they're taking a lazy day off, now getting active. But emergency cannon being built just in case. But what Fischei can do, it looks like he is going to make a motion to do so, is grab that third. Bayaster, I think, wants to go scout it. perhaps potentially hoping that he, honestly, I'm wondering if the better situation for Bayaster would be grabbing his own third and hoping that Fischei doesn't careen into him in the meantime, because right now he's in a very defensive position. The probe walks up, sees at least that third is being constructed. Bayaster moving to get aggressive. He still doesn't have a supply lead, however. Gonna try to pick off that observer, potentially. The observer has not been picked off in the midst of this. The Dark Templar looked like they're gonna get handled before that observer was wiped out. And you got 2 Reavers and no High Templar to provide some support from Bayaster, so despite the high ground advantage, he's once again gonna get pushed back. Now, I don't know if Fischei is gonna, he's been really pulling the trigger hard in a lot of these matches and being very, very aggressive. We have 2 Archons now in the midst of this. Clearing out some Zealots on the front there. There's +2 weapons upgrade advantage, by the way, for Bayaster, so that is going to be a saving grace here. That's probably why he's staying in the match, because he recognizes that his army just hits a little bit harder, so maybe off one base he can make it happen, but no, he's going to call it right there as the Reavers overwhelm and his natural expansion was exposed. GG, well played, the Evermanner Bayaster. We'll see what happens when he hits worst. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Well-deserved win. Fischei will move, and I would not be shocked to see these guys in the semifinals. Once again, hopefully on opposite sides of the bracket this time. But we're going to move on. We got the 1-0 matches and the 0-1 matches in the second round. Look forward to it. Thanks for listening.